Welcome back to the Book Digest. Today we're diving into a powerful and practical summary of The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. This is a book with a fascinating premise. What if getting rich has less to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave? Let's get into it. Right off the bat, the book hits you with a story that just flips everything you think you know about money on its head. On one hand, you've got Ronald Reed, a janitor. He patiently saved and invested his small income and died with an $8 million fortune. Then you've got Richard Foscone, a Harvard-educated finance executive who went bankrupt. How in the world does that happen? Well, that question is really the key to this entire book. And there it is. That's the central idea, the big takeaway. Financial success isn't about running complex models or having a fancy degree. It's about your behavior. Ronald Reed behaved in a way that built wealth. Richard Foscone, for all his intelligence, ultimately did not. So, let's unpack the first big idea from the book, this concept that when it comes to money, no one is actually crazy. Housel's point is that our financial decisions, no matter how wild they might look to someone else, make perfect sense to us. Why? Because they're based on our own unique life experiences. I mean, just think about it for a second. If you grew up during the Great Depression, your view on risk and saving is going to be completely different from someone who came of age during the dot-com boom of the 1990s, right? The conversations about money around your family dinner table, the country you live in, your own personal wins and losses, all of this stuff creates your own personal financial worldview. And this is where it gets really interesting. Each of us only experiences this tiny, tiny sliver of the world's economic history. But we use that little sliver to build our entire model of how the financial world works. It explains so much, like why one person sees stocks as this golden opportunity and another sees them as a fool's game. We're all playing different games, with rules we learned from our own unique lives. And then, layered on top of our personal stories, you've got these two massive, powerful forces we often just ignore: luck and risk. You see, not every success story is a result of pure skill, and not every failure is because of a bad decision. Housel really wants us to see the powerful role that just random chance plays in all of our lives. A perfect example is the story of Bill Gates. Was he a genius? Absolutely. But he also had an unbelievable stroke of luck. He just happened to attend one of the only high schools in the world with a computer back in 1968. Now think about his friend, Kent Evans. He was just as brilliant, just as into computers, but he tragically died in a mountaineering accident before he could make his mark. Same talent, completely different outcomes, all shaped by forces totally outside their control. It's a huge lesson in humility. Okay, this brings us to one of the most dangerous psychological traps in finance, the problem of never enough. You know that feeling, that nagging sense that no matter how much you achieve, the finish line for actually feeling satisfied just keeps getting pushed further and further away? Just look at the cautionary tale of Rajat Gupta. This guy was the CEO of McKinsey. He was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, he had it all. But he wanted more. He wanted to be a billionaire. And that desire, that moving goalpost, drove him to commit insider trading. And it cost him everything: his reputation, his freedom, his fortune. He already had enough. He just couldn't see it. So what's the engine driving this dangerous feeling? It's social comparison. It's as simple as that. The moment we start measuring our own success against someone else's, our own achievements can suddenly feel empty. Housel calls it a race with no finish line, because there is always going to be someone with more. And the only way to win that game is to refuse to play it. Okay, so if never enough is one of the most destructive forces in finance, what's the most constructive? Housel argues it's a force our brains are not naturally built to understand: the quiet, mind-bending magic of compounding. When we think of compounding, we usually think of Warren Buffett. His net worth is just staggering, a true testament to his legendary investing skill. But that's not the whole story. In fact, it's not even the most important part of the story. So let me ask you a crazy question. Of that unbelievable $84.5 billion fortune, how much do you think he earned after he was already eligible for Social Security, after his 65th birthday? Take a guess. The answer is just stunning. A staggering $81.5 billion of his wealth was made after he turned 65. So his real secret wasn't just being a brilliant investor, it was being a consistently good investor for an almost impossibly long time. Time did all the heavy lifting. And that's the key takeaway right there. Our brains are wired for linear thinking. 1 + 1 = 2. So we consistently, dramatically underestimate the power of exponential growth. A good return that you can stick with for decades is always going to beat a great return that you can't. Time is the most powerful variable in the whole equation. This brings us to our final and maybe most important section. After all this, what's the actual goal? I mean, what is money really for? The answer might surprise you. First, Housel makes this brilliant distinction. The skills you need to get wealthy, optimism, taking big risks, are often the exact opposite of the skills you need to stay wealthy, which require humility, caution, and a deep fear of ruin. A lot of people get rich, but then fail to make this psychological shift, and they end up losing it all. And this leads to one of the book's most profound ideas. We're all trained to see wealth as something visible, the fancy car, the huge house, the designer watch. But Housel argues that isn't wealth at all. That's just spending. True wealth, he says, is the part you don't see. True wealth is the money that's still in your investment accounts, the savings that haven't been touched. It's the assets that are out there working for you, buying you options and flexibility for the future. You see, a high income doesn't make you wealthy if you spend all of it. Wealth is the income you save and invest. And this really gets to the heart of why any of this matters. It's not about having a giant pile of cash to swim in. The real value of wealth, its highest possible form, is the control it gives you over your own life. And that's the ultimate point. All the saving, the investing, the compounding, it's not just about watching numbers go up in an account. It's all in service of one thing: freedom. The freedom to control your own time, to do what you want with who you want for as long as you want. That is the real return on your investment. So the book leaves us with this final, powerful question. It's not about what you would buy if you had more money, but what you would do. What would your life actually look like if you had complete and total control over your time? That, in the end, is the goal worth striving for. Thanks so much for joining us.